we're going to go into survey 2 this week. This week is going to drill down into the first 2 navs of Atlas, talking about data sources and vocabulary search. The agenda, for those that might be late to the party, we're just going to give a quick summary of what Atlas is, what the development status of 3x and 4x planning is, what we need from you. I'm going to review survey 1 responses, and then for survey 2, I'm going to hand it over to Alexey, and he will walk you through the elements of this next survey and kind of open up Atlas and show you in a live sort of walkthrough about what's happening in the app. All right, so Atlas, what is it? Atlas is a web-based application enabling non-programmers to design and fully specify elements that can be used in observational studies. It's our primary interface for developing and evaluating cohort definitions. And the functions that we get here out of this is vocabulary search, concept sets, cohort definitions, characterization, and other analytics. For our 3.x and 4.x planning, we are saying that Atlas 2x, the 2x line of Atlas is end of development, but it will be maintained for current users and hot fixes will be accepted. The 3.x is under development based on community feedback. That's where the topic of today's survey is going to be used to identify what we'll carry forward. But we also want to take into account for technical updates such as JDK updates and other technical debt that we have accrued and move that into our official 3.x release. 4.x will be making more significant changes to the application design based on user interviews and data collection by Data for Life. So what we need from you is we're going to be showing you a set of features in the Atlas 2x line, specifically 2.14, and we need your input about frequency of use and importance of the feature. Frequently of use is in terms of never used, rarely used, sometimes used, or often used. And you can see on the screen here, it's like never used means you never used it, less than 25, 25 to 75, or more than 75. How important is the feature is not important, that it doesn't really impact your work. Slightly important is doesn't really always come into play when you're doing your work. Moderately is should be, you would like to use it, but if it doesn't, it's okay, but it is something that you do put serious consideration into using. And extremely important is something that is just part of your function. The job can't be done without it. So again, feedback from these surveys will determine which aspects of the application we're going to prioritize. In our first survey, so far we have 78 responses. We'll be leaving all the surveys open throughout June and maybe slightly longer depending. We have 78 responses here. You can see the distribution. On the left side we have frequency, on the right side we have importance. You can see that for the most part, database metadata, searching, concept set creation, cohort definitions is frequently used and important. Characterizations are kind of balanced, or kind of like maybe less frequently used than more often, but has a slightly more important bias on our feedback. And you can see the rest of these. I don't want to necessarily go straight down, but you can kind of see there's a pattern here talking about like what people are using more frequently and what is important, and versus less frequency, but something that might still be important for us to keep in the application. Okay. So just a high-level overview of what Survey 2 is going to cover, and then I'll hand it over to Alexey. There's 2 main parts of the survey. The first part, we'll talk about the data sources nav. Alexey will walk through the reports under the data sources section of Atlas and just briefly describe the purpose of each report. And then vocabulary exploration, we'll walk through vocabulary searching, ways of filtering results, and exploring concept information. Okay, so Alexey, may I hand it over to you?
Yeah, good day, everybody. I'm Alexey Manoylenko, co-leading with Chris the Atlas working group, and today I will navigate you through those 2 areas, the data sources and also concept search. Let me share my screen. Okay. Not to switch in between tabs. I hope you see it.
We see it.
Yep, we see the Atlas data source tab.
Yeah, that's perfect. So I will not switch in between tabs like the survey itself and the application. So I propose we go through the application first, and then we will briefly go through the survey questions. So for sure, you are familiar with Atlas, and there are two items on the left side, the data sources and the search. And I will start with the first item, which is the data sources. And those are OMOP CDM data sources configured in your organization. Behind this block, you will be able to see some of the reports which are related to each data source in your organization. I will choose one of those on Atlas demo. So it's SynPath 5% population. And I will start with the first report in the list. And it's about the dashboard. And on this report, a user will be able to briefly see the database characterization, like characteristics. First of all, the number of persons which are present in the database, the source name, then the pie chart visualizing the distribution of population by gender. Down below, you see the histogram of the distribution of age at first observation and the number of people representing that distribution. Then the next item is the cumulative observation, so the number of years present on the x-axis and the percent of population which is related to the number of years in the population, the cumulative observation. So the last item in this dashboard graph is the persons with continuous observation by months. You can see down below that it's again distribution of the number of people among the months which are present in your data source. So we are done with the dashboard part of the data source report, and we go to the data density report. So it contains three elements for each domain, as you see in the legend, like condition occurrence, drug exposure, measurement, observation period, and any other which are colored by specific color with time series on the screen. You see that the first graph represents the number of records and also the months and the year for which those records are present in a particular data source. Down below, it's granularity by the records per person. So for each person, you will see the number of records represented for persons in a particular month of the year. So again, the colored series are distinguished by the domain itself. So the domains are the ones I mentioned earlier. And the last graph on this report is the concepts per person. So you can see here the representation which shows you the median, the maximum value, the minimum value, and the percentile of the concepts per person. So we slightly move to the next item from the list. It's about the persons which are represented in a particular data source. So the first chart is about what was the year or what was the year of birth when a person is first identified in the database. And here is a nice histogram from synthetic data. So how many people with the year of birth are present in that database. Down below, you see a few pie charts, which is distribution of those persons by gender, by race, and by ethnicity. We go next to the observation period, which is slightly bigger in terms of the number of graphical information represented. So it's age of your of the first observation of people population. So you can see on the x-axis that the age is from 0 to 100 plus years, and the number of people representing those ages. On the right side from this histogram, you can see the distribution in between male and female, again with the max and minimum value, median and percentile metrics. Just a bit below the graph visualized the observation lengths and the people representing that observation lengths in years. Here you can see that the length, observation period length is like distributed in between 0 and 3 plus years. And again, the observation duration by gender is present on the right side from the histogram. Another chart is the cumulative observation, again by years on the x-axis, and the percent of population which represent that item on the x-axis. So here you see that it's again from 0 to 3 plus years, and the percentage of population starting from 80+% down 0+%. And here on the right side from this graph, you see the OHDSI, which is again by age stratified by 10 years, right? So you see here again minimum, maximum value, median, and percentiles for 10, 25, and 95 metrics. So one of the last graphs from this report you see here is the persons with continuous observation by year. So it's again the year on the x-axis, and here on this screen you see that from year to 2009 to 2010, 2009 in particular, most of people are present in the data source of our interest. So on the right side of this bar chart, which is just a few years, you can see that there are not so many observation periods on this synthetic data. So mostly it's one observation period. So that's why you see the legend that it's one item and it's 100x thousand of people with particularly observation period 1. And the last graph on this page you see is the persons with continuous observation by months. Don't be surprised that it's like multiple years which are repeatably displayed on the x-axis. It's rather like distribution by quarter. So the number of people representing the continuous observation by quarter across the years, because a bit above you see that the distribution was from 2008 to 2011 year, and here you see it more granular. So then we have multiple reports which are domain specific. So I will not go through each domain during this demo, but you can see that some of those are condition, occurrence, procedure, drug exposure, observation, measurement, and the other domain specific elements. So each of those domain specific items are supplemented by a tree map and a tabular view. So this is very interesting tile representation of all the condition occurrences in the synthetic data source under our investigation at this moment. And the tabular view is something you see on the screen with the possibility to filter on the right side and to find concept of your interest from the data source. with its prevalence and person count. So if we choose one of the items here from the tree map or from the tabular view, you will be able to jump into a drill down report for each particular item. In my case, it's anemia drill down report with each like prevalence representation, which you see the year of observation and also OHDSI from 0H to, so here we see that it ends on 99H, and also it's essential to mention that here the red and blue color on the screen represent the how the prevalence changed for male and for female, and also across those years from 2007 to 2009. And the prevalence by months is more detailed view on that screen. So again, here you see duplicity of years on the x-axis and prevalence per 1,000 of people on the y-axis. And down below, you see that there are a few types of that particular anemia represented by that pie chart, and also the age at first occurrence of that particular condition occurrence in the population of the whole database distributed between female and male persons. So that's the data source part of the Atlas application, and we will move to the next block, which is the search by concept, and this is the third third element from the list on the left side. And here there are multiple areas of our interest during the survey. So on this screen, a user will be able to, by free-form text, search some of the concepts. And let's find diabetes. And after a few seconds, you see the results in the tabular view, and our questions will be focused on a few blocks on this screen. So first of all is searching by free-form text I just used, then a possibility to have advanced options during the search, so filtering by domains and also the vocabularies. And on the left side, there is this facet filter panel with a few elements like vocabulary, class, domain, if the concept of our interest is standard or non-standard, or if it's classification, if the concept is still valid, which is defined by the vocabulary we are searching in. Then if there are any record counts associated with a particular concept, and also the descendant record counts and person and descendant person counts, if they are present for this particular database. So those blocks are here labeled with RC, DRC, PC, DPC abbreviations. So here by default, descendant person count filter is applied. So all the diabetes were identified and sorted descending by the descendant person counts figure. Also, one of the blocks of our interest is this view record count for a particular database. Here you see that it's the evidence network counts, and I will switch to SynPath 5%, and after a moment you will see that the counts or figures were just changed, and that the counts themselves are different for each data source which is configured in your organization. And one of the elements of questionnaire or survey is also the icon on the right top corner, this basket. So for diabetes, it's possible clicking on this like button to create on the fly a concept set containing some of the recommended concepts related to your free-form text entered into that navigation bar. So here you can see that the new concept set was created. The concept set and cohorts block will be reviewed in detail during the next week survey demo. So I will not go deep into this block, and I will return back to the previous listing. Okay, it will go to the concept sets. I will again search for diabetes. And the first part of the search by concept, searching in concepts or in vocabularies is finished. And when from the list a user selects a concept of their interest, clicking on one of the items in the list, they will go to the detailed view of each concept of interest, on which you see a few attributes which are known. So the validity of concept, when it started, when it ended. If it's never ending, you see those 99. So for if it's a standard concept or non-standard concept, if it's valid or invalid, also the identifier, the code attributes for which vocabulary it belongs to, and what's the concept class identifier for this particular concept, and what's the domain identifier. So as diabetes mellitus is a condition, you see that the main identifier is the condition. So for each concept, a user will be able to navigate in between different tabs you see on the screen. So the related concepts will display the concepts which are related to the underlying concept based on the relationship tables in the OMOP CDM. So here you see that some of those relationship details, if it's like standard, if it has descendant of, if it subsumes from another concept, if it has ancestors of, and so on and so forth. So again, it's possible to filter the list of related concepts, and that's a similar list we saw just when we were searching for a concept. Then on the next tab, which is named the hierarchy tab, a user will see the hierarchy for the underlying concept. So there are a few sub-elements, so it's possible to display the parents only, clicking on the parents button, or to see the current concept itself, or see the children. It's impossible to emphasize that you will not be able to see the hierarchy for non-standard concepts. So therefore, if we would choose any of the concepts which are non-standard red colored, you will see a message that unfortunately for non-standard concepts hierarchy is not available. So the record counts tab is a tabular view for the underlying concept, and for each data source configured for this Atlas instance, you will see the record counts and descendant record counts figures, and you can compare across the databases. The last item from the concept view is the drill down report, which is pretty new feature being added to one of the latest versions of Atlas. And here for this data source, there is no data, but I will switch to synthetic data source. And here you will see that for type 2 diabetes mellitus, the prevalence by OHDSI is represented on the screen. Again, with female male distribution with red and blue time series, and distribution among the years from 2007 to 2009, where condition occurrence of type 2 diabetes mellitus is present. And the prevalence by months graph shows the prevalence per 100 or 1,000 of people in each quarter of the year. So, and the last item is what was the age at first occurrence of type 2 diabetes mellitus, again among male and female population, with the minimum age with 25 years and maximum age of 101 years for male, and 25 years for female, and again maximum of 101 years for female, with median and percentile metrics. I think I finished with the demo, so I propose I moved to the survey itself. So we'll briefly go through each of the questionnaire questions, and so that you're familiar with those. And I think first of all, you should confirm that you are an Atlas user. Otherwise, you will not see the other questions from the survey. Then what Chris mentioned, there will be two types of questions asking for how frequently do you use that feature, or how important is the feature for your business function. So kind of description to get familiar with. And this is that first dashboard report, right, with two questions of interest: if it's used frequently, and if it's not, if it's used by importance for your job. The answers are just I picked something, so irrelevant, so please don't copy those answers. And the next report is the data density, so similar questions. If you use the data density report, how frequently you use those, from never to often, and how important is report for your work, from not important to extremely important on the right side. So we go to the next item, which was the person report, with all of those age or the year of birth for population and distribution, and also gender, race, and ethnicity pie charts. And the question is, how frequently do you use those reports, and how important are those reports for your business function? So, and the observation period report with multiple again charts on the screen with the same type of questions of frequency and importance of those charts to make decisions during your work. So, and this is that domain reports aggregated question. It's not only one question, but it's here you see that for each domain you will have a separate like radio button, and it's rather a radio button group again with the, if you use those like reports frequently, from never to often for each domain of interest, and also how important are those reports, again from not important to extremely important for each domain. And there is one specific question for this block, is if for some reason you have your fourth version of Atlas, or you are thinking about a feature of something which will like streamline your business, accelerate your business, and help your existing functionality. This is a free form answer. So what features are missing on this data sources section, and what will increase or improve the value of that tool in that area. So here, please just enter the answer if you know or you wish to have any features, and that feedback will be handled accordingly. We'll move to the next block. It was about the vocabulary search and concept information part of the survey. Again, the types of questions are similar. How frequently do you use this feature, and how important is the feature in your work? So no new comparing to the previous form of questions, but the content is different. So those 6 blocks I mentioned earlier. So the search bar, then the advanced options filter, then the recommender concept button, then the table facet filter on the left side, then the concept counts block titled RC, DRC, PC, DPC, and also the source selector. I believe I forgot, but I will return back and search again for diabetes, and I will choose one of the diabetes, and so in the evidence network counts, the record counts are of those you see on the screen, but if you choose one of the data sources for which the counts are available, you will see that the counts are different. So this is that source selector block, which we would like to understand if that functionality is frequently used, and also how important is that functionality for your business function. So those 6 blocks, if you use the text search, if you use the advanced search options, if you create concepts via the recommender button, if you filter those search results using the facet filters, if you use the concept counts, which are displayed on the table, and if you review different sources for the concept counts. And the same type of questions, but asking for the importance of those. Again, this is the free form question which is added. You see number 15, so it's vocabulary search section. So if you know of something that you already have, or if you would like to ask for a new functionality which is currently missing, so this is the block for you to enter all of your ideas. And the last part of the survey for the vocabulary search is that concept information form and the tabs we went briefly just a few minutes before. So those are concept details with the attributes, the related concepts with those tables. I mentioned concept relationship and concept ancestor to be particular. Then the concepts hierarchy tab, the record counts table view between different data sources, and the drill down reports. And again, the questions are how frequently are those functionalities used, and how important are those functionalities for you and for your organization. Again, if in this part there are features which are missing and you would like to ask to be added, so this is the block to enter that information. And I believe this is the last block of the survey, with the possibility to leave your email address so that the organizers of the survey will be able to reach you out with the feedback you provided, and also any supplementary comment about your survey experience. Submitting your answers will create an entry, and the realization team will handle the feedback afterwards. Thank you. I think that's all. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. And I pass the word to Chris. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Alexey.
Thank you very much, Alexey.
And Chris. If I just chime in, I appreciate, Alexey, you given this nice tutorial for those that are maybe less familiar with the tools, but also to encourage everybody to fill out the survey. I think probably two things that are really important for you all to take away from what Alexey walked through. So the data sources tab in Atlas is our current instantiation of how you can expose the Achilles summary statistics. We've heard lots of people run Achilles to produce marginal information about how often concepts show up and that kind of stuff. And we currently have like two primary platforms for exploring that information. One is embedded here inside of Atlas in the data sources tab. And then we know that some organizations are also using the Aries tool that's within our broader community. So it'd be really great to understand from folks how often you are using data sources in Atlas and how much that brings value to you. And I was actually quite surprised to see how many people regularly use this feature, because I really didn't know how much it was being used in the community based on our survey one. So it's really important for us to understand what you guys are learning from using that, how often you use it, how important it is. The second component that Alexey went through was the vocabulary search. And here also within our community, we have multiple different vocabulary browsing solutions across our broader ecosystem. Many of you are familiar with downloading the vocabulary through the vocabulary distribution system, which is athena.odyssey.org. And some of you even use the Athena browser as a mechanism to explore the vocabulary. As Alexey very nicely showed, the search capability inside of Atlas, not only is it allowing you to explore the vocabulary and explore the relationships between all of the concepts, but it's also then connecting the vocabulary to your record counts. And so it's actually this critical point where we are bringing together the data and the vocabulary, which I think is a particularly differentiated feature from lots of other tools that are out there. And so we're really keen to hear from all of you about how much you're using the vocabulary. What are the challenges and opportunities for us to improve that? Because we clearly see that this already from your survey one responses, we can clearly see that the vocabulary is an area that is, one of the most priority areas, and hearing from you about your input about how we can learn from your experience of how often you use it, how valuable it is, and what other thoughts you have is going to really help us in terms of moving this forward. So I want to encourage you, please. We learned a lot off of survey one, but now as we go through the next 4 weeks, we're going to be diving into each of the individual features to understand from you all about what your user experience is. And this is going to directly drive our roadmap for version 3. So I really want to encourage you all to please do share your insights there. Sorry, Chris, just want to throw that in there. I'll turn it back to you.
No, it's awesome. Thank you very much. We do have a couple more minutes. I wasn't sure if anyone was interested in seeing some of the other responses. I gave the overview of the, would that be all right? Unfortunately, my camera is frozen, so I can't see any nod. Do you want me to just
I think
show a couple more interesting facts?
Okay. And if anybody does have any questions for Alexey or Chris, feel free to raise your hand and we'll also be able to call on you.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is just scroll through the first. This is our current status, 78 responses. Somebody left their browser open, so it's like 130. The survey really takes 10 minutes. So this average time is like thrown off. For the most part, everybody said they were an Atlas user. Most people are using it on a local deployment, but there is a scattering of users that were using it either on a shared instance at an external institution or on the Odyssey site. This was very interesting to me to see which version of Atlas was installed. I'm glad everybody's off the 1x line, but there are some people that are currently using the early 2.x versions. And then we fast forward all the way up to starting at 2.9, and 2.9 to 2.14 is a chunk. Well, 2.14 is our most popular, so that's nice. And then there's some people actually using our pre-release. From a usage perspective, it's interesting that we see a very even distribution across these different flavors of frequency of use, from once a day to once a week to once a month to like once a year. We are finding people in that context across pretty evenly. From the how long have you been an Atlas user? Most people are greater than 3 years, which makes sense considering the tool's been out there for like 8 years. So people can be on the train that long, but we also have some newcomers to the party as well. From an importance perspective, about half people are talking extremely important, or like 75% is basically either important or extremely important, but others are like, it's a curiosity, but not necessarily critical to their work. Ways people have collaborated. Forums is the most popular. We have seen good reporting on GitHub, so that's interesting. Some of the people are actually participating on the workgroup calls or the teams. And then a couple people, 6 even, have done code reviews on GitHub. This was from our slides, so I won't really dig into the drill, but you can see which sections were more frequently used than others and which ones seem to be, people are saying, are more important than others. And that's as far as I'm going to scroll, because some of the other stuff is like email addresses and other feedback. Any comments or questions that anybody would like to pose or drill through on this? All right, then thank you very much for your attention. We'll be posting Survey 2's link out to the forums. Craig will also make an announcement too. And I really look forward to seeing more engagement and hearing more, like getting good feedback about those 2 sections that we talked about today. Thank you, everyone.